One of the 10 young men that was selected to participate in the government's military-style academy pilot has allegedly reoffended. The news came on the same day Parliament was to debate legislation that would make the academy program permanent. Both the Greens and Labour are renewing calls for the minister to pause that legislation until after the pilot's been thoroughly evaluated. But Children's Minister Karen Chhour is pushing ahead. She says the actions of one should not stop the other young men having opportunities to better their lives. And she joins me now. Karen, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Leah. Great to hear your voice.
Oh, it's lovely to talk to you, Karen. Now, I've just been reminded today it's White Ribbon Day. Is that correct?
Yes, and it's a day where we speak out against violence against women. And make sure that this is an actual topic that's heard, because quite often it's a hidden topic.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad I was reminded of that, because I'm carrying that I did not know. Bad of me. First of all, Karen, can we talk about this one youth? Can you tell us what this young man allegedly did?
I wouldn't really like to go into details around that because it's still before the courts. But what I would say is. We've developed a program that's a pilot, and it would have been naive of us to think that reoffending wouldn't have happened. But we have to take account the level of reoffending and make sure we don't give up on these young people, because this is learnt behaviour that's going to take time to change.
For our listeners, just to refresh their memories, Karen, the military-style academy scheme was intended for serious youth offenders. The 10 took part in the pilot age between 15 and 17. They spent 3 months in a youth justice residence, and that component ended October 16. Now that they're out, what happens now?
So they have an intensive program that's been designed specifically to the young person. They have a mentor that's available to them up to 30 hours a week. They also have their social worker that's working with them and their family. And they also, many of them have gone into work or into other opportunities. So this is about helping them and guiding them to learn how to be good contributing members of society with a little bit of support behind them.
Did I hear you say some of them have already gone into work?
Yes, so some have left and have got jobs from lined up when they left the program, which is really cool. Others may want to go back into kind of education, and some are still just learning how to cope, dealing with building back their relationships with their whānau. So success is different for each and every one of them. They had a program designed for them with what they thought good looked like leaving the youth justice facility, and we're there to help them to achieve their goals.
So it's targeted individually, so each one's has different aspirations. Like you said, some just want to be able to reconnect with whānau, to be able to go home. Yeah. So that could be theirs, while the others have jobs. So it's all kind of tailor-made, is it?
Yes, it's tailor-made to the young person. It's not a one-size-fits-all problem.
No.
We couldn't continue doing what we were doing, which was absolutely nothing. So they'd end up in a youth justice facility, they'd leave, they'd commit a crime, they'd come back in, and it was like a revolving door. So this is just bringing a more holistic approach, with also a bit of discipline in there too, and accountability for their actions, actually them owning up to the actions that caused them to be there in the first place, but then also not defining them by just those actions, finding out what excites them, finding out what we can do to help them to achieve better back in the community. And so, like I said, it would be naive to think that these young people, some of them may not reoffend, but do we take away that help from everyone else, from the actions of one? And I do say that lightly because we are still wrapping around that young person. We're not going to give up on them. They're still part of the program. This is just a step backwards, and we'll make sure we do what we can to support him in not reoffending in the future.
Well, actually, I'm glad you said that, because I was going to ask, because of this one young person that did reoffend, you didn't drop them out of the program. They're still getting all the other services that you said you would?
Absolutely. So, his family's had support, he's had support, and we just get back on that path. We can't afford to give up on these young people, like I said. This might be their last opportunity before they end up to be serious adult repeat offenders. Right now, these are young people who still have that chance to not end up in the adult system.
The House debated, do they debate the legislation that would make the academy program permanent? I saw Willie Jackson bursting a blood vessel.
Yes. I introduced the legislation last week to enable serious youth offender category for young people and these are our most serious offenders who have committed at least 2 crimes which have a sentence of 10 years or more. So it's not small petty things like shoplifting or a little bit of vandalism. This is creating real victims out in our communities, and we have to think about the victims because, quite frankly, a person does not care whether it's a 15-year-old or a 30-year-old holding that hammer when they're swinging it at their head. It still has the same results of trauma, the same results of lifetime injuries, and we need to make sure that accountability happens for that kind of behaviour.
So you entered that. Well, that was for the serious youth offender category. So that was what you were debating.
Yes.
The
that
legislation
bill allows. That bill gives the courts a bit more power to create a serious youth offender declaration on a young person who has committed serious crimes repetitively and has had previous help that has not worked. So we've tried everything and it still hasn't worked. So now we have to go a bit more intense. But it also gives police more powers. So if a young person is out and breaching their bail or breaching what they've been told they can and can't do out in the public, police will have the ability to pick them up a lot faster and to be able to get them off the streets a lot faster. And judges will have the ability to sentence those young people to a military academy.
Okay, so what is next with the military academy? So are you confident it's going to continue on?
Oh, absolutely. These young people are thriving at the moment, and I'm absolutely proud of what we've achieved in this pilot program. Just remember, this is a pilot, so it was a short period of time in the Youth Justice Facility of 3 months. But under the new legislation, once that goes through, we'll be able to go up to 12 months, which will allow a bit more intense wraparound in residence, so that by the time they leave and go back out into the community, we've really worked with them on a lot of their issues and what their needs and wants are when they go back to the community.
So hang on. So when it does, going forward, the way you see it working, they would be in for 12 months, not 3 months.
The judge would have the ability to sentence between 3 to 12 months.
I see. Right.
So it will all be on a judge's decision. Oranga Tamariki does not make the decision on sentencing, a judge does. So it will be working out what is best for this young person and how can we make sure that there's consequences, but also rehabilitation on the other end. Because consequences are really important, Leah. We can't have a generation of young people that can go out, do whatever they like, create victims in our community, and have absolutely no accountability for that. We're setting those young people up to fail. They've never learnt right and wrong. They've never been told no. And now we as a government and I as Minister for Children, I'm saying the words no. No, you cannot do this anymore, and there will be consequences.